It's the Big Buck with the latest of the canines. The Big Buck, all the doggiest of headlines. With your hosts Dara, Millie, Roxy and Bruno. They're the kind of dogs that you know.
It's time to talk about health, nutrition, training. Talk with canine professionals, owners and dogs.
It's the Big Buck, the Big Buck. All the canine stories for you.
Hello and a big welcome to the Big Buck. And you may notice that today's episode title is a bit inspired by a really, I suppose, 90s teen show, or TV show, I should say. Twisting my words there a bit. But it is called today Saved by the Doorbell. And the only reason it's called that is because it's named after, I suppose, Saved by the Bell, which was one of my kind of shows that I watched as I was a wee little young fella all those years ago. Long time ago now. And the reason for that is because this week is back to school week. And we all know what that means. It means a lot of people, I suppose, going back to school, and parents who probably maybe been working from home for a lot of the summer to accommodate, like, I suppose, the kids and all that. It means a lot of them going back now to the office as well. So that means then the doggies, lovely little doggies, kind of their daily routine changes up. So I'm going to be talking a bit later on with Samantha Rawson from the Canine College on our Clever Canine segment about that. But I suppose a few tips, from this side of things, really. One thing for dogs is they love routine. So this is something that I've come to learn over the years, that no matter what the dog, they love their routine. And it's a long time since I've been in school now. But it's also been a few years since I worked full-time in an office as well, because I've been working from home since the start of COVID. So it's since, I suppose, prior to March 2020. And Bruno and Millie always had their routine. They always were out with Dad. And they'd stay with Dad, but straight away they knew when it came to around 4 o'clock in the day, they would be up on the bed looking out the window, because they knew that was the time of day that I would usually come home at. And I always wondered how do dogs know when you're due home? Believe it or not, it's pretty much to do with like your scent, and dogs can tell the time using their sense of smell. And the reason being that, that they can notice how much your scent fades over the day. So there's a very interesting article actually on this on the Times in the UK. And let's see, I'm not sure if I can actually access the article. I was looking for one just before we came on air there. And so, here's one here. It's from a site called thewildest.com. So, Alexandra Horowitz's book, Being a Dog, she offers what seems a very reasonable explanation. It's just that they can smell. It isn't just that they can smell us from afar or hear our footsteps or the car running. There was a potent combination of two forces leading to these dogs' abilities. The first is the distinctness of our smell to our dogs. The second is the case with which dogs learn our habits. Okay, so let's start off with dogs can apparently basically smell time. I'm just going to adjust the mic, so that might be a bit noisy there for a second. And so it might be the odors we leave around the house when we leave lesson. When we leave lesson in a consistent amount of time each day. So the scent fades throughout the day. And because our smarty dogs, our clever doggies, their amazing knows that over the hours you were gone, your home begins to smell less of you. So they also know as well, based on their experiences, so they're very good at picking up on subtle cues like reading body language, changes in the environment, and listening to sounds. And not just your own signals, but maybe the sound of a neighbour's car that starts up a few minutes before you arrive home. Environmental stimuli like light shifts, sounds, smells, and even cues you can't pick up on can play a role in your dog's ability to sense when you're coming home. Now, I always know that Bruno and Millie, when I was working in the office, they always knew when I was coming home. And if anyone has ever watched, I suppose, it's a film I always turn off near the end of the film before the sad part comes. But Marley and me, you will know that in the scene where the two kids are coming home on the bus from school, the dog is there waiting every single day. He knows Marley is there waiting for the kids every day. And dogs do that. Dogs actually know when you're coming home. They know when you're due home. So it's pretty cool, to be honest. So in a few minutes we're going to be chatting with Samantha Rawson. But I suppose first of all what I want to do is Roxy actually hasn't been that bold this week. She's been, I suppose, on a tight leash since the seatbelt incident, and she's had fun on our walks, and the weather has started to pick up in a nice bit as well. So we're getting out and about, and that's something I'm going to be talking about a bit later on. Different, I suppose, places you can take a dog in this really nice weather. Some really picturesque places that you can take your dogs. And I'll also be chatting to you a bit about an event that's coming up in Malahide Castle on the 30th of September that I spotted online. There will be a very much interest for a lot of dog owners out there. I'll be chatting a bit about that later on. And I'll also be chatting about a very interesting news article that was released there only in the last week. Or was it last week? Apparently it was updated last week or something, but I'll jump into that very much quickly there. But yeah, so under new legislation, the Minister for Agriculture, we'll go with that. He's bringing an interim report to Cabinet. I don't know if that's actually been done, but apparently fines under Control of Dogs Act will double to €5,000. And a single central database for dog microchips is meant to be created. Now, look, I don't know if that will actually happen or not, but apparently it's been founded by a attack on a child by a dog in County Wexford last year. And that's another thing that Samantha would be, I suppose, touching on, how to help dogs get along with kids. I mean, last year we had Kids Around Dogs from the UK chatting about this as well. They do a lot of training people to handle their dogs around kids and everything over in the UK. So we did touch on that last year as well. But, okay, so yeah, I suppose, before we jump into the whole, back to school, well, obviously, we touched on it a bit there, coming home, from school, coming home from, say, the office and all. Dogs know when you're coming home. But a few tips that I would offer myself is, I suppose, avoid, big changes in their daily routine. So, dogs love routine. So, starting, if you know you're going back to school, or if you know you're going back to an office environment, start the new routine, about maybe 3 to 4 weeks before school starts or before you go back to the office. So by that, they're getting used to it, and they're getting used to the, I suppose, time that they're separated from you. And I suppose, dogs definitely, in my opinion, they do know that you're gone, and they do really suffer from separation anxiety. That's a huge thing that I've noticed, especially with Roxy. I can't even leave her in the car for 2 minutes, and look, I won't be leaving her in the car in this heat regardless anyway that we're having at the moment. But it's a lot warmer than it was, so it's going to get warmer again. But I can't leave her in the car for 2 minutes on her own, and she cries and cries and cries. So it's yeah, I suppose even now I had to get a dog. I got a new car, so I had to get a dog grill, wood dog guards, so that now she is actually in the boot. It's a very big boot now, so it's not like I'm locked into this tiny little boot. It's a very big boot in my new car, and it's actually a very comfortable, very nice for the dogs and all as well. I might touch a bit more on that later on, but I had to put her separate in the back so that she does not eat anything in my new car, because I will, Jesus, I'd freak if she did. But yeah, so she even cries now when she's in the back on her own. She doesn't like that, and I think it's more like she's in doggy jail. She doesn't like being doggy jail, but look, has to be done. I'll come back to the car in a small bit, a bit later on, and just kind of tell you a bit about that, because it's a great car for having doggies in it. And let's see. So yeah, obviously when you're leaving, leave treats, not even treats, leave games. So I suppose licky mats, leave little puzzle games for them, and leave toys, Kong toys for example, filled with frozen peanut butter, or filled with food. It can distract a dog for up to 30 minutes after you're gone. In Roxy's case, I'd say about 20 seconds maybe. And okay, so obviously have a secure place for them in the house. Just don't give them the run of the house, because that's it's going to end up in disaster if you have an anxious or puppy that's suffering from separation anxiety, or a dog in general that hasn't been away from you for their whole life, and now all of a sudden that they're going to be away from you, or if they've been around you the whole summer and they're going to be they've just gone used to that routine, and now they're going back into a routine where you're gone again. So it's look, you want to adjust your dog to going back to school and going back to work, and make sure that your dogs are adjusted to your kids going back to school as well. And I'm going to let Samantha talk a bit more on this in a minute there now, because it's really her area of expertise, and I'm waffling on as I usually do. I've been waffling on a lot lately. But before I do that, I suppose the first thing I'd like to share with you is this is actually something I found on BBC. Now, I'm going to actually turn up the volume here. I'm always looking out for really cool things that quirky and unusual. But I'm going to play this, and copyright for this, I believe, is, I would say, to the BBC, I think, or maybe the orchestra. So this is a video or a sound clip of dogs performing Mozart with an orchestra in Denmark. And you can see the full clip up on BBC's website. And just to give you a bit of details, a classic musical festival in Copenhagen has opened with some canine additions to the orchestra. Footage of the rehearsal shows 3 dogs participating in the performance of the Hunting Symphony, a little known piece by Mozart's father Leopold. Chief conductor Adam Fisher, who auditioned dozens of dogs for the role, so yes, dogs had to audition for this, said he was honouring the composer's wish that a part of the symphony should be accompanied by baying hounds. Okay, so Cook, Sophus and Seeker were chosen for their barking skills and went through 3 months of training, not only to bark in command, but to remain quiet for the rest of the performance. So let's give a little listen to this here, because I'm going to turn the volume up full for this, and it's going to be quite interesting to actually, I suppose, hear.
So the symphony is in 3 movements, and in the last movements we will hear the hunt to begin, and we will have shootings, and then the dogs will start to bark around the scenes, and we will have 3 dogs on his signal that will bark around the orchestra.
That's bloody mad, lads, right? That's freaking crazy. I've never seen anything like that before. But yeah, I wonder, well, we might actually chat with Samantha the next day about that, because I just happened to find this online now, and just before I start recording. And yeah, so it's a pretty cool thing to be able to do, to teach dogs how to, I suppose, sing in an orchestra. And I think the footage is originally from YouTube or something like that, but it was shared on BBC as well, and actually it's shared on a few other UK websites too. But that's pretty cool. Anyway, on that note, we will switch over now gear, and we will switch over to Samantha and chat about dogs going back to school, and yeah, all the usual, you know. Sure. It is what it is, you know.
The Big Bark is brought to you by the Canine College, run by champion dog trainer Samantha Rawson, a regular contributor to RT radio and television. Samantha is a certified canine behaviour consultant, and with 30 years experience in the field, she has the knowledge and understanding to help any dog. Our services include individual dog training from basic to competition standards, assessments and behaviour consultations. The Canine College is set on 5 acres with a secure paddock and an indoor classroom. See thecaninecollege.ie or find us on Facebook for more information.
Alright, and we're delighted to welcome back Samantha Rawson from the Canine College again today. And given that we're talking about all things going back to school, the time of year that it is, we want to bring Samantha on to, I suppose, talk about the importance of, I suppose, training your dogs to be around kids, and also how to teach your kids as well to actually behave around dogs. So I think it's a very important topic because we do see a lot of, I suppose, children that get like dog bites. So given there is back to school time, I said I'd welcome Samantha on to chat a bit about this. Hey Samantha.
Hi Dara. Hiya, good to talk to you.
Good. So okay Samantha, obviously this is a very big one because a lot of, I suppose, dog bites that occur are in children. So I think there's a real, like, kind of, I suppose, not just training your dog to be around children, but you also have to teach kids actually how to behave around dogs. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So I suppose the most important thing to say to everybody, but really important to say to children, is never to go up to a dog you do not know. And never put your hand out to a dog you do not know. So with all dogs, a dog must look for the engagement. If it doesn't look for the engagement, you leave it alone. So it's really important because children, I suppose, can't understand body language, and most adults who are not dog professionals don't understand body language either. So if a dog wants to engage, they will approach you and they will come forward. Usually with a happy tail or a smiley face or, you know, a kind of a waggly kind of free moving body. Do you know what I mean? So whereas if a dog isn't moving and it's just standing still, it looks away, its tail is down, it's not being any way inviting. It's probably saying, don't bother talking to me. I'm not really interested. So the other thing to remember about dogs is that just because your family dog might be good with your children and your extended family doesn't mean it will be good with children it does not know. So I hear parents say a lot, you know, oh, my dog is great with kids. And I have to go, no, your dog is great with your kids or your children. So just because the family dog has learned to tolerate, you know, the bumps of family life, it doesn't mean it'll tolerate somebody else coming over to give it unwanted attention. And the really important point, again, for both adults and children, is never, ever, if you're going to pet a dog, even if it does look abusive and it wants to engage, to never pet a dog over the head. Most dogs do not enjoy being petted on the head, especially by strangers, because a hand looming over their head could be equated with a low-flying aircraft. It's like you look at it and go, hang on a second, where's that going? So a hand looming over a dog, especially an unknown hand, could frighten them. And some dogs will just kind of look up to see where the hand is going. And when they do that, they open their mouth, and then the child sees a mouthful of teeth and might start screaming, and then the thing can go horribly wrong. So the general rule is don't ever approach a dog if it doesn't approach you first. And never, even with a dog you know, never pet a dog over the head. If you're going to stroke a dog, you stroke a dog from collar to tail or down its back. And I would always pet a dog on its rear end. I pet a dog as far away from its head as possible to reduce the likelihood of ever being bitten.
Okay, Samantha, and I suppose as well, like, you have to look at, like, even like you were saying there, like the signs are there from a dog. So you have a lot of dogs that could be afraid as well of people that they don't know. Now, how do you train your own dog? How do you train a dog to be more sociable around people, rather than being growling and barking, say.
Okay, well, I suppose it's about protecting your dog. It's a bit like if a child doesn't want to be sociable, you don't force it. You know, if a child hides behind their parents' legs because they're shy and a dog does the same thing, you wouldn't force it. So it has to be the dog's choice. So I would never force my dog to engage with people. Like last night, I introduced one of my dogs to a couple who came for training, and they had been here a couple of weeks beforehand, and my boy had kind of made shy with them and was a little bit nervous. But last night he met them again, and because they didn't make any approaches to them, but he remembered them, he went up to them because he hadn't learned anything bad from the previous experience. He was just a little bit shy. Nothing happened. Nobody forced him to do anything. They were very, respectful of his needs. So then when he met them again, he knew that they were okay. They hadn't frightened him. They hadn't done anything. So he approached them quite willingly last night on the second meeting. So that first meeting is really, really important. You've got to let the dog sniff you, and that you don't make any overtures towards it. You don't do anything. So the best thing that can happen to a dog is nothing, basically. And then again, on the second or third meeting, the dog then realizes, you know what, you're no threat. I'm quite happy to approach you. And then when the dog is happy to approach you, then you can pet it or throw a ball for it or give it food treats. I much rather engage with dogs through toys than give food, because eating bread is soon forgotten. And just because a dog takes a food treat off you doesn't mean it's emotionally happy. Whereas it will play, if a dog will play with you, you can't play if you're a little bit frightened or worried, but you can still eat and be worried. So I much rather kind of play with dogs. So that's always my go-to, that I will ask somebody to throw a toy for the dog. But to avoid eye contact and never give the dog reason to feel threatened. So I suppose it's not about training the dog to be sociable. It's about asking people to respect the dog and give them space to investigate you. So it's not really about training. It's about setting up the right environment. The other thing that happened last night was we were out in the field. So the dog had lots of space to run away. So I suppose, given that we're talking about going back to school, it's really important if a dog is on a lead that you do not let children run up to it, or you do not let somebody approach it and try and pet it. Because it's on a lead, it can't escape. And that's when children and people tend to get bitten, because the dog feels trapped. Whereas if it's in a field or if it's loose in the garden, it can run away or it can move away. But dogs on leads are trapped. So really important not to let people encroach your dog's space while it's on a lead. That's why, Dara, that's why you see an awful lot of what are labelled reactive dogs towards other dogs, because they feel trapped on a lead and a dog is coming towards them. So the same thing can happen with people. So it's really important for any kind of social engagement if the dog is off the lead and is free to move away, and the dog is free to make its own decisions.
Okay, so one thing I want to, I suppose, talk about too is, it's something I definitely come across. When you have, like you say, when you see kids that run up to dogs, and what's the best way to tell a child, no, that you can't approach my dog without, to be honest, without the parents getting completely pissed off at you?
Okay, that's a difficult one. That's an exercise in diplomacy. I used to, in the past, I had a Belgian Shepherd, and she was a big black dog, so she was a Groenendael. And I had trained her to lie down. So if a child kind of came running towards her and wanted to pet her, I would say, no, you can't pet her, but you can maybe give her a food treat if she lies down. So I would give them the food reward. And then my dog was trained to lie down, with a signal. So then the child felt as if they were training the dog, and the dog had been trained to lie down. So they were smaller than the child. But I suppose that was easy for me because I'm a dog trainer and I kind of predicted that. But I suppose you have to be a little bit maybe rude to be kind, because if you don't step in and you don't say, sorry, please keep away from my dog, and something happens, unfortunately, you're legally liable, even though they're at fault because you've asked them not to approach. you are legally liable. So it's really important that you are an advocate and you step up for your dog and you quite definitely say, please do not touch my dog. Even to the point of maybe you order a jacket that says, please do not pet my dog. Do you know what I mean? Or if you're worried about your dog, I know it sounds a little bit extreme, but if you're worried about your dog, that you put a muzzle on it. Because people can be very silly. Non-dog people can be very silly. And children who are kind of running loose and excited, are obviously unpredictable. So if it's not possible to avoid the situation, I would put a muzzle on my dog. I would be very upfront and very, very clear about what's allowed and what's not allowed. And even to the point of if you just put the dog behind your legs, if you see a child running towards you, that you step in between the child and your dog and you very clearly say no. So that you're physically protecting your dog and you're physically blocking the child. And if the parent sees that, it's quite obvious that you don't want engagement. Or if you can, just get the hell out of there. Just turn and walk away and get the hell out of there.
Okay, and I suppose one final question then, Samantha. Say in the case of, in my case, say Roxy, a very excited puppy, and obviously one thing that you don't want Roxy doing is, because she's getting to that age now where she's getting big, and you don't want her jumping up on children. Mm-hmm. So, why about jumping up on adults, but jumping up on children, she could easily knock them over. So how do you teach your dog to not jump up on people in general, but especially on children? Okay.
I suppose Roxy being a labby and Labby's being food mad, I would be using her breakfast or her lunch, and I would be taking her out around people. And again, if I see her being kind of, enthusiastic and abusive towards people, I would say, okay, good girl, great. I want you to be friendly. However, here's a handful of food on the floor. The important bit here, Dara, is the food comes from the floor, not from your hand. Because with some dogs that are very food orientated, you will actually focus them on hands, which you don't want. So the food has to be dropped on the floor, but the food is dropped on the floor before the arrival of the people. So you're not distracting the dog, you're preempting it. You're trying to kind of have the dog busy looking for food so it doesn't even notice or care about the people, that it's more interested in food. And with some dogs, if you want to use a licky mat, if it's feasible to use a licky mat, but if you're outside on a walk, I would just drop some food and drop kind of big nuggets of food so the dog doesn't have to go, nosing in the grass to look for it. Because the other thing, the downside of that is you don't want a dog then that scavenges out on a walk. So you want to make the food quite visible to the dog so it's not scavenging. Because sometimes when you're trying to address one problem, you can create another problem. But yeah, so it's about preempting the situation and getting the dog busy doing something else before the arrival of whatever the distraction might be.
All right, that's great advice there, Samantha. And listen, we'll leave it there for today and we'll have you back on again next week. Samantha Rawson from the Canine College, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thanks, Tara.
Clever Canines on the Big Bark is brought to you by the Canine College, run by champion dog trainer Samantha Rawson, a regular contributor to RTE radio and television. Samantha is a certified canine behaviour consultant, and with 30 years experience in the field, she has the knowledge and understanding to help any dog. Our services include individual dog training from basic to competition standards, assessments and behaviour consultations. The Canine College is set on 5 acres with a secure paddock and an indoor classroom. See thecaninecollege.ie or find us on Facebook for more information.
Once again, a big thank you there to Samantha Rawson for joining us and some great tips for going back to school, going back to the workplace. So thanks again to Samantha for that. Very much appreciated. Now, we don't have a huge amount else left to talk about, but the weather is getting good. And I suppose we wanted to have a look at where can you take your dogs in Ireland? Now, okay, so we know for a start that there's some good hotels out there where your doggies are welcome. So I'm just going to give you a list of hotels that I've come across that are doggy friendly. So for a start, we have the Glenlow Abbey Hotel and Estate in Galway. So I just came across this there earlier, and it's a 5-star hotel. So let me just get an idea of prices and all. It's definitely outside my price range. Okay, come on. It's like, if you're looking for a posh, nice place to go, it is I suppose, a good one, alright. It has a huge grounds. Where in Galway is it? I have no idea. But it is... Oh, it's rising from the still waters of Loch Corrib, apparently. So, Glenlow Abbey Hotel and Estate, that's one there. So, if you're looking for the good old expensive hotels there. At the Conrad in Dublin. So, that is another one. It is dog friendly. And let's see. We'll just have a quick look at this hotel here. And that is, let me just see if we're to go with the, like, I don't know, the mid-September kind of range. Okay, so there we go. We'll have a look at that. Mid-September. Get an idea. And the Conrad Dublin, it is... And, wow, Jesus, whoever wrote this article really wrote what's on my price range, I'll tell you anyway. Okay, so then there's Westin in Dublin as well, which is also a one that is, I would imagine, quite expensive. I can't imagine that's cheap either, but I didn't even know that was dog friendly, to be honest. Let's see. About 405 a night. Bit better. So, okay, let's see what else you have. You have the Randall's Hotel and the Drumhall Hotel, both in Killarney. So let's have a quick look at those. Okay, the Randall's Hotel actually looks quite nice. Very nice, actually. Central enough in Killarney as well. I'm just not even going to bother look at the prices because I'm going to give myself a freaking heart attack or something with these prices here. And so let's see. What else have you? You have the Highlands Hotel all the way up in Donegal. You have the Gabriel House, Guest House in Cork. Marder Lodge in Donegal. There's the Sandhouse Hotel and Marine Therapies in Donegal, and Blarney Castle Hotel in Cork. Now, here in Limerick, you have Castlereagh Park Hotel and you have the Castle Oaks Hotel as well. Both part of the, I believe, the Soho is a Soho Hotel Group, or Soho Hotels, I believe it's called Soho Hotels. So they're the ones that are owned by Pat McDonough, and a lot of his hotels are dog friendly as well. So, or check it out if you want to take your doggy on a little breakaway with you. But I'm more interested in, like, I suppose, the day trips and stuff as well, like things that you can, picturesque places to walk your dog. Now, on that note, before I go on to that, make sure that if you are going anywhere, that you do take your doggy poop bags with you. And on that note, a lovely little word from our sponsor.
Are you tired of using low-quality bags to pick up after your dog? Do you get dog poop all over your hand when cleaning up their mess? What you need is a mutt mitt, a strong 2-ply bag that makes it super-duper easy and hygienic to pick up your dog's waste. Check it out on muttmittsireland.ie. Mutt Mitts, better than a bag. Proud sponsor of the Big Bark podcast.
So yeah, if you're going anywhere, remember to bring your mutt mitts. You can get them at muttmittsireland.ie, and they are 2-ply, very good quality bags. I highly recommend them. It's the only bag that I use to, I suppose, as the phrase goes, scoop the poop. But especially when you're going to like beautiful locations around Ireland, you want to take your dog bags with you. You want to clean up. You want to leave the place respectable the way you found it. Unless you're one of those people who just like lets their dogs like shy all over the place and then just walks on and pretend they're not even their dog. But there's some lovely, lovely spots. You have, of course, let's go first and foremost to Killarney National Park. You have such beautiful, beautiful scenery. You have up to like, I suppose around 20 kilometres probably of walks. You can do like really long walks. I've been there a good few times. I love Killarney. It's just a lovely, lovely spot. You can even take a nice little rest in front of like the big Killarney. It's like, what is it? Mucker's House. So you have Mucker's Park, you have Mucker's House, you have the lakes of Killarney. Some beautiful waterfalls. Like, for example, you have Talk Waterfall. You have, like, obviously you have your mountains and all. I wouldn't be taking my dog now up Carrauntoohil or anything like that, but you have the Killarney Lakes as well. So, wonderful settings there. Now let's switch to the other side of the country, and you have Holt Cliff Walk up in County Dublin. Lovely, lovely walk. But of course you have lots of parks, you have lots of other areas in Dublin as well. And if anyone knows of some like really good places around Dublin, and like then you have obviously Wicklow as well. You have Glendalough out in Wicklow, which is an absolutely beautiful spot. You have Powers, it's a Powers Court, I believe, as well. Powers Court out in Enniskerry. So you have a lovely, lovely big waterfall up there as well. I've paid a visit there as well before. Absolutely beautiful spot. Go up around the burn, then you have Cargill Loop up around the burn. Absolutely beautiful spot as well. And staying with kind of towards burn as well, you have a lovely little estate outside Gort. And what's that called again? Let me just see what that's called. That is... Oh, what's it called? Give me a second, I'll find that there. It is... let's see. What's it called? What is it called? Jesus, your man, the fella... Is it to do with WB? Cool Park. Yes, Cool Park outside Gort. I've often gone there as well with the dogs before. Lovely spot. Beautiful out there. Coming a bit further south then, down around Limerick, you have a good view. You have Cur Chase, Forest Park. Lovely spot outside there. And then you have out on the other side of Limerick, out towards Maru, you have Clare Glens. Bit of a challenging walk up to kind of towards the waterfalls and all that. And then let's go down to Cork, and you have the Foher Wildlife Park, of course. You have Foher Park itself, and some wonderful, wonderful spots to be taking your doggy down to around, like all these, around the country, like really, like all different lovely areas. Given the weather that we're forecast to have over the next couple of weeks, definitely recommend taking a couple of day trips. And it's something I plan to be doing as well with the doggies now that I have a new vehicle that actually can be roadworthy. So my last car was quite a small little car. It was a Ford Fiesta. So having 3 dogs in a Ford Fiesta is kind of very cramped, very unfair to them as well. So I upgraded in the last few weeks, and I got I went for a Hyundai iX35. It's pretty much more Jeep than it is a car. It's a beautiful ride though. It has so much room in the back of it. As I said, Roxy now is in, kind of, she has the whole boot to herself though, which is great because like it's loads of room for her, and there's loads of room then for Bruno and Millie as well. And she is out of reach of my seatbelts, which is, like as I told you last week, is what I would really be worried about her chewing up, because she is just a absolute... She's a terror at times. She's a terror. But, you know, as I did say, we do love her. She's a playful puppy. She's a bold puppy. But she's our bold puppy. And, you know, it's something that I gotta say, I don't have any real disagreements with Roxy being Roxy, because, you know, she's crazy Roxy. She's a crazy, crazy Roxy. So I think that's really all I actually have to say for today as well. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that for today, as you know yourself. And first of all, big thanks again to Samantha Rawson. Thanks to our sponsor for the show today, Muppets Ireland, as well. So be sure to get on to muppetsireland.ie if you need your poop bags. And be sure to reach out to Samantha if you do need help with your own bold puppies or your own bold doggies. Be sure to reach out to Samantha Rawson be it on Facebook or online at the caninecollege.ie. So big thanks again to Samantha for joining us today, and we'll have 3 vets back again next week with you. And well, actually it'll be 2 weeks time before we have another episode, so 2 weeks from today. So sometime about second week, I suppose, of September, we will have another episode back, because I'm taking a couple of days off next week, and you know, it is needed, and we'll be back again anyway next week. And in the meantime, go to Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. Look up the Big Bear Podcast for all our previous episodes. And go to our Facebook, our Instagram, our TikTok. We're the Big Bear Podcast. And I believe on TikTok, actually, we're Big Bear Podcast Official, because we had to change around a few bits. But we might be updating all the handles as well. Or you can go to bigbear.ie as well. And, well, that's all for today. Have a great week. And I saw pause Sloan from myself, Roxy, Bruno, and Millie. And, well, take care.
It's the Big Bark with the latest of the canines. The Big Bark, all the doggiest of headlines. With your hosts, Dara, Millie, Roxy and Bruno. They're the kind of dogs that you know.
It's time to talk about health, nutrition, training, talk with canine professionals, owners and dogs.
It's the Big